Hello everybody, this is your video about the veins and arteries in your torso. Once again, we will be on your artery and vein guy here and the Leslie model. Many of these are easier to see on the Leslie model, so just sit tight. We're using him first and then we'll get to Leslie. So I've told you about your aorta and how this is your ascending aorta, the aortic arch, and then where the blood is going down and your aorta is going down, it's your descending aorta. Once you pass the diaphragm, that's this big muscle wall that separates your abdomen here from your thoracic cavity up here, this all becomes your abdominal aorta. But this upper region here that has all the arteries that start branching off of it, for your digestive system, this region is also called the celiac trunk. So you have your abdominal aorta going all the way down with this region of your abdominal aorta called your celiac trunk. Right? Off of your celiac trunk, arteries start branching in sets of 3. Just like the 3 little pigs or 3 blind mice. Everything in life happens in sets of 3s. I don't know why it's good to remember and why that happens. So you have a little set of arteries here. You can see one of them kind of sticking outwards and then just ending on this model here, and then one going all the way to the left and the other going all the way to the right. Right? This is your first trifecta of arteries that we are talking about. The one that is the rightmost artery that's going to the liver here. That is called the common hepatic artery. This middle one that is jutting out, that you can't see on this model because your stomach and other stuff would be here and they just cut off that artery, that is the gastroduodenal artery because it's going to your stomach and duodenum. Right? And then you have this artery here that is on the leftmost going to the left, heading to your spleen. And that is called your splenic artery. So those are the first little trifecta 3 here in your celiac trunk. From there, I'll show you the other arteries on your lab list because they get more specific with your stomach, which is not even on this model, and your liver. So I'll show you those ones on Leslie. But continuing down your abdominal aorta here, right? You end up with your next set of 3. Which you can see happily right here because the next set of 3 or the middle set of 3 is between the kidneys. You have an artery poking out between where the kidneys are coming forward to feed intestines that are not on this model. And that is your superior mesenteric artery because it's the top one and it's feeding your mesentery. Right? And then of course you have the 2 arteries going to your kidneys. You have a left and a right one because you got 2 kidneys. Those are your renal arteries. Further down, you can see some other little arteries branching off, and you have your third trifecta. You have gonadal arteries that literally branch down here, and they run all the way down to your gonads. And the one that's in the middle there would be your inferior mesenteric artery that's between your gonadal arteries. But your abdominal aorta goes all the way down until here, where it starts branching left and right. Where it branches left and right here, that is your common iliac artery, until common iliac forks, and you have one artery that goes back further deep into the hips, and the other one that continues down to your legs. This branch is your internal iliac artery, and then you have an external iliac artery, and you got that on both sides because this is the split between your legs. So you have a left internal and external iliac and a right internal and external iliac. Following all of this back up through veins, you have an internal iliac vein on the left and the right and an external iliac vein on the left and the right, and they both meet to be your left and right common iliac veins. You have a lumbar vein back there that feeds your lower back, that also feeds back into this big old vein here, which is your inferior vena cava riding all the way back up the body to the heart. So you have, right, And then meeting here, you also have veins that are coming in from your gonads going back up to the gonadal veins, which dump back into your inferior vena cava. Veins that are coming in from your kidneys are, of course, renal veins, right? You also have little veins right here that are on top of your adrenal glands. Those ones are adrenal veins, or suprarenal veins, whatever you want to call them. Then you have a hepatic vein that dumps back into here, your inferior vena cava, and then everything goes back up to the heart. And that's it for this one model. I'll show you the rest of this on Leslie. It's a little bit all more clear on Leslie. Alrighty guys, so here we see our Leslie model, right? So from the aortic arch winding down, we now have the celiac trunk region of your aorta here, and then the abdominal aorta. Once again, we are talking about the arteries branching off from there. So see how there are 3 little arteries here, like a little trifecta? These are the first 3 arteries in your celiac trunk, right? The one that is the most on the left is heading toward the spleen right here. This is the spleen on this model. So this artery is the splenic artery. The middle one is gastroduodenal. It's going to the duodenum and the stomach, because if I were to put the stomach back in this model, this is your esophagus here, and the stomach would be sitting right here if I hadn't taken all the organs out of this model to show you the blood vessels. So this would be your stomach, right? We'll come back to that stomach in just a moment. And then you have another artery right here, the one that is the rightmost artery, which is going to this big old spot here, is your common hepatic artery, because if everything was put back once again, your liver would be happy sitting right here. We'll come back to the liver in just a moment to show you some of those arteries and veins. Right? But that would be the 3 arteries in your celiac trunk. We come down to the next third. Once again, you can see a little artery here that's poking forward that was cut off, and then the 2 going to the sides to the kidneys. Use your kidneys as a good placeholder. You know that these are renal arteries. All of y'all know that because renal means kidney. So these are the renal arteries, right? The artery that's right here in the middle is your superior mesenteric artery, because it's, if I were to put your intestines back right here, it would be the artery that's coming right here to feed your intestines, right? Because your intestines hang right here. And that artery is starting to feed the top of your intestines from right behind there. Right? If we go down a little bit further, you can see that you have these 2 little branch offs right here, and then nothing in the middle. There really is something in the middle. Some of these models, another teacher has like drawn a black dot right here, but this would be like right here. This middle one is where your inferior mesenteric artery would be, and these itty bitty side arteries, if we follow them down all the way down on this female model, behold, they went straight to the ovaries right here. These are the gonadal arteries that feed your junk. If this were a male model, that artery would go all the way down, 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 and then feed the testicles. That would be right here. So these are your gonadal arteries. You have a left one and a right one because you got a left ovary or testicle and a right ovary or testicle. Right? And then your abdominal aorta halts, and you have common iliac on left and right. Right? And you can see where it branches. You have the internal iliac right here, external after it is branched off, blood coming back up. You have external iliac vein, internal iliac vein meeting the common iliac vein, which is all going to meet back to the inferior vena cava. Gonadal veins right here to meet the inferior vena cava. You have renal veins here. You have a lumbar vein. You can see them heading in the back here to feed the lower back. You also have a little vein here that you can see on the adrenal glands, which is the suprarenal vein. You guys know you have renal veins. And then up here, you have a hepatic vein that meets back here to your inferior vena cava, and that's that. The two organ veins that we need to mention, though, that are on y'all's lab list. So we know about up here where you have gastroduodenal in the middle, splenic, and then common hepatic. So your gastroduodenal vein, or your gastroduodenal artery here, is going to come to your stomach, but we can, if we look at the other side of this stomach model, you can see an artery running up the right and the left side of that stomach model, right? Those would both be your left and right gastric arteries. This is the leftmost side, so the one that's on the outside of the stomach is the left gastric artery. Right gastric artery is right here on the inside of it. The other specific one is right here for y'all's liver, right? We know that the common hepatic artery feeds your liver and goes into your liver. Your liver has another source of blood intake, right? And also from here, you can see this big old chunk here that is your inferior vena cava and where that fits in right here to head back to your heart, right? But your liver is filtering everything your intestines filter in, right? So your liver itself is fed by that common hepatic artery. And in the meantime, the artery right here that is on the bottom of this liver model that starts to disperse things between your liver lobes is the hepatic proper artery, right? Also, you have this random lavender vein right here that is on the bottom of your liver. Blood is coming to your liver to be filtered because your liver is your filter and poison control center. I know we haven't done the digestive system yet. But your liver is your filter and poison control center. So all of the nutrients that you just absorbed in your intestines into your bloodstream has to be filtered just in case. All of that blood from your intestines is going straight to your liver right here through this lavender color vein called the hepatic portal vein. That is generally a trick question for things. Do not get the hepatic vein and the hepatic portal vein confused. The hepatic vein is right here on the top of your liver, and it's the vein that is dumping back into the inferior vena cava. The hepatic portal vein right here is the vein that is carrying blood that needs to be filtered to the liver so the liver can do its job. But that's it for that section of y'all's lab list. Let me know if you have any questions.